I am so excited to have Phil on today. Every time I talk with him, he just brings up different aspects of everything you can think of. And today's subject is going to be about business and entrepreneurs. I would love to see this country have so many more entrepreneurs, but you have to have the mindset for it. So we want to kind of go through some questions and have a discussion. We would love if our viewers would comment and participate or connect with Phil or myself. So welcome, Phil. Let's dive into the first question on this.
Well, I think that in your experience and in mine as well, as a consultant with a lot of people who say they want to start a business, is that is simply an idea to them. And they think that they're sold on the idea of having their own business or doing their own thing out there. But when you talk to them, very often you find that it's not really all that clear in their mind what it is exactly they want to do. In your experience, Ginny, when you've talked to people, do you often find that they aren't all that clear on exactly what they want to do, but think they are?
Well, I think I have to go by my experience. You know, in my mind, I knew that I could do it. I just had to have the right avenue. Fortunately for me, I got to be friends with the guy who ran the print shop for Ryder Truck Rental down in Miami. And Dad had been an entrepreneur, so it was nothing for me to say, hey, we can do this. We're young. We don't have any kids. What's money? You know, I wasn't afraid of not having money. And that was a big obstacle for a lot of people. And I wasn't afraid of moving. Fast forward, we ended up in Colorado where we bought an offset printing business and just threw ourselves into it and stayed there for 24 years. That's the background.
So you grew up with an entrepreneurial mindset from the very beginning.
Exactly.
A lot of people seem to grow up with an employee mindset first.
Correct.
And then
that's why I want to have you on here so that you and I can talk about this and get people to start to think about different things in case they're interested in owning their own business.
So as a consultant, what goes through my mind when I'm talking to somebody, they go, hey, Phil, I want to start a business and I need some help getting up and running. And it's like, so my first question is, so you think you want to run a business? Mm-hmm. what exactly put that thought in your head? And they go, oh. They don't have an answer. They don't have an answer. And
well, I want time off. I don't want to work this hard. I want freedom.
Yeah. So how do you think that owning your own business is going to do that for you? Because very often that's not the case. It's just a matter of who's your boss. You have different bosses, that's all. But I mean, if you're going to own a business, and you know this, if you're going to own a business, run a business, operate a business, you're going to be tied to that place. You're going to be really, as far as time off. I remember somebody said, hey, we can let so-and-so do it. She owns her own business. And the immediate retort was, I own my own business. What does that have to? She said, well, you have all that extra free time. And she goes, you mean all that time I spend in my business for free? Is that what you mean by free time? Yeah, because you do.
Did you buy a job?
Or did you buy a job? And it's okay to buy a job. But I think it is. I mean, that's a judgment call for you, but the person we're talking about. But the thing is that is like, look, if I'm making the same money that I was, but I can make the decisions about what I do, when I do it, and how, then I'm okay with that because that's a benefit. So it's like money isn't the only thing. It brings us back to a very, very important point is, let's say that you believe that entrepreneurial adventure is kind of where you want your life to lead you. And you think, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a business owner, an operator. Of course, there are business owners that are not operators. They just are money people and they are absentee owners and stuff. But that's not what we're talking about here, I don't think. We're talking about people that want to do it. And so they go into something that they want to do. You've asked
their passion.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it is their passion and sometimes it's not. Sometimes you can tell
it's a hobby.
Or sometimes it's just what they're good at. That's another one. There are people that will go into business and they go, well, I mean, I'm not that, but I can do it. I know I can do it. And I know I can make money at it. And I know I can do it well. and then I can use what I make and my freedom to decide. I can then use that for my real passion, which is playing the guitar or hiking the Appalachian Trail or whatever it is. See, that might be where their real passion is. And this is kind of the utilitarian nature of owning a business, which is a very important thing. You want to be able to really understand that there are benefits and there are costs to being in business and understanding what it is you're trying to accomplish. You asked some really good questions in some previous conversations that we had. One of which is why? That's a very big but small question. Why? Why do you want to run a business or have a business? I was listening to, do you remember a fellow named Earl Nightingale?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I used to listen to him as a kid quite often.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he talked about was the difference between a reason and a purpose. You can say that your reason for opening a business are the things that you've already mentioned, some freedom, some additional income, some whatever it is, all those things, that's the reason. But why that specific business? You could say, I want to be in business. Okay, well, you can do a lot of things. You can go to a franchise fair, so to speak, and you go and you see like 16,000 different businesses you could possibly own. But you look at, you go, I cannot imagine my doing that. The idea of messing with people's feet all day and stuff like that, no, that's not me. I'm sure I can make some money with that kind of business. Or
that is a franchise?
There are footwear stores and stuff like that. Stuff like that. And there are pedicure places and stuff like that or whatever. And you look at that and you go, no, not me.
Yeah.
There are other things too that you could look at and say, and it's not because I am a guy particularly, but I am me and I grew up as a guy and there are some things that I'm not doing that. It's like,
not in this lifetime, he says.
Not in this life. So you look at that and you say, okay, the purpose for this particular business. Let's say that in my looking at when I decided to become a professional speaker, for example, I was asked that question. I was actually, I just gave a talk or whatever you want to call it, a presentation. An agent came over to me and said, okay, we can sell this. And I said, okay, let's do it. And he goes, okay, but I need to know why. And I said, what? And he said, what's your purpose here? What's the underlying hook for what you do? And I didn't have an answer. I found myself kind of dumbfounded by the fact that I didn't have an answer for that. But I did eventually come to a conclusion that what I wanted to do more than anything is to help other people help themselves.
Now, Phil, I have to add, I've been on LinkedIn now for about 3 years. I ask people who have gotten promotion or a new role, and I ask them if they're excited. And the majority of people end up coming back and saying yes. And then they expand that it's because they feel that they can help people. I think that is huge in our society.
Yeah, there are many ways that you can help people too. Let's talk about the feet.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. You can help a lot of people with the foot thing. But, there are other ways to do that. And I would choose a different way. but that's it's like, so there's got to be more to it than just I want to help other people. Because if that were it, I tell you a little story. I was, when I was like 23, I guess, I walked into a place, for an interview. And so the guy says, so Phil, why us? Why are we so blessed to have you want to work here? And I'm like, well, I want to help people. And your business is just a perfect opportunity to do that. And I like your product line and all those kinds of wonderful things. And he goes, oh, so you want to help people and you like what we do? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, I'll tell you what. I can make it so that you can help a lot of people, all the people you want, and that you can enjoy our product line as much as you possibly wish. But I'm not going to pay you anything. And I go, nope. I can't do that. I got to earn a living. He goes, oh, so money has something to do with this. And he's like, okay. You see, you have to be very careful not to be too delusional. And also, there are lots of really fundamental utilitarian reasons for owning a business. You mentioned them. One of them might be, I want to make more money. As an employee, there are certain limits as to what I can do, and it's limited by somebody else. If I can strike out into an arena where I believe that I can do good for other people, but I can also then grow it to the point or expand it to a point or reach beyond a certain limit where I can make a lot more money. And I want to make more money too. And I'm a capitalist. I don't object to people wanting to make money, and I don't hide the fact that I want to under a bushel basket either. The fact of the matter is that without a profit motive, most businesses don't exist. Actually, no business would exist. I mean, because then you would just have volunteer people doing things, and that's
well, that's true. And you can't help other people if you're not making money. I mean, there's a certain cycle here.
Well, I mean, I guess if you had the kind of money that a Bill Gates or Bezos has or whatever, then you could. But
it took them a while to get there too.
I mean, but that's the point, though, is that money isn't always the objective, but it often is. And if you're not a Gates or a Bezos or one of these guys, billionaire or even a multi-millionaire, if you're one of those people that are still earning a living as you go, you want to remember that and be okay with that, because that's part of what's going to make you a success at what you're doing. If you ignore the money, if you ignore the profit motive, then you're likely to do something that employees do and not employer, which would be to be very generous about certain things and not concerned about the cost of certain things, agree to things that are probably not in your best interest as a business owner, because employees, they think, well, just write it off or let the business pay for it or whatever. It's like,
right.
There's no such thing as writing things off. That's just against taxes that you have to pay, but that's still a cost. As far as letting the business pay for it, I am that business. So it's like letting my left pocket pay for it instead of my right pocket. But so
that's a hard concept for a lot of people to understand.
Yeah, this conversion, see, like well, I grew up in an entrepreneurial environment too, because I was forced to start working at 9. And I was out there. I had 3 businesses by the time I was 12. For me, necessity is the mother of invention. For me, that's just kind of the way that was. But there are other people that I've known that have, they went through school and they went into a workplace and they got to be like 42 and they got to a place where it's like, I know more about what I'm doing than my manager does, and yet my manager is telling me how and what to do. And I could do this without him or her, meaning that I could possibly even do this without them. So I wanted to go into business for myself and say, okay. So when you make that leap, one of the things is that we just talked about is that you have to make the entrepreneurial leap too. The mindset going from employee with this huge company that can absorb all kinds of expenses that you don't even think about. Yeah, so I'll just take this home. Or yeah, so I broke it. Oh, gee, you need to fix my desk or whatever it is. It's like, okay, in your store, in your business, if you got to fix the desk, that's your expense. That comes off of what you take home bottom line. And so that whole concept of decision making and everything that comes from the purpose. I don't know about you, but I have dealt with companies that have these little retreats, and they'll say something like, Phil, we want you to go on this retreat and help lead the retreat, because what we want to do is we want to create a vision. We want to get a mission sentence statement. And so you go there and you realize what they're really trying to do is create poetry. In other words, something that looks good on a plaque in a lobby somewhere. Right. Yeah, so they have this, oh, isn't that sweet? And then an employee comes in and says, so exactly what does that look like when I'm sitting behind the desk going like this with my computer? And they go, I don't know, but it sounds good. You see, the thing is that if you really understand what your mission is, which is the purpose that we've been talking about, to understand what it is, that you are now an employer, not an employee. Even if you're employing yourself, you're still the employer. And so things that you normally take for granted in one mindset has to be seen and thought through and somehow dealt with a different mindset. It's difficult to make that leap sometimes.
It is. I've seen people who have a hobby, artists. I think I'm going to pick on them because they have a great product, but they really don't know how to market it and get it out there for people to buy.
That's an important issue too, and tying that back as well to what we were talking about. You pick a really great one, because being an artist of some kind, whether it's a musical artist or it's a graphic artist or a portrait person or a cartoonist or whatever, it's all fun and wonderful until you have to do it.
And then you don't know what to charge for it, because if you're new on the block, you can't charge that much, but you want to survive and it took you this much time to do. Someone is hemming and hawing as to, well, it's not really worth that much. You don't have any money to take home for all the time that you've invested in it.
Once you do understand what we've been talking about, making that entrepreneurial leap, so to speak, in your mindset, and you've focused in on why you want to do this, that brings us to then, well, what will you do? What is the business that you're going to wind up being in? For example, if you, like you were just talking about, if art is like, I think I could do this. I mean, I love art, and I do what I do and I like to do it. But now I have a customer who is telling me what they want. That means I can't just do what I want. I have to meet certain parameters that they want, size and color, hues and stuff. And I go, you want what? Is it like, yeah, it's got to be kind of everything, and it's got to be kind of a cool bluish. Are you serious? I think that would be ugly. It's like, you're the artist. You're supposed to do what I tell you to do. It's like,
right. I've got the wrong person.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, you could say that, but if you keep saying that,
well, wait a minute. You've got the same thing in a restaurant. A person comes in, meal number one, if it's good, they're going to return. If it's not good, that is going to be told to a lot of people. And that's going to be a tough business to get off the ground. But you've spent all this money ahead of time to open the doors, get everything in place. You've dealt with the city and the state with all the taxes, all that stuff. That is another type of business that I can't quite grasp, because I don't understand the food, the expiration. There are way too many things. I spent an awful lot of time knowing that I wanted to get into business, and every single business that I went into, I always looked around and said, okay, how many employees? Are the employees happy? What does it take to run something like this? Are they working on the weekends, or are they only working 5 days a week? What is my ideal type of business that I want to own? I look at accounting and I go, that never ends. I cannot handle something like that. And I think that's why I loved printing, is because a person would come in, they would come in with a business idea. They wanted business cards, and they were all excited that they were starting this new business. And we were thinking through their letterhead envelopes, business cards, their flyers, their mailers, all those things. And I knew that they could come back in, tomorrow, and you can look at a proof, and you're going to be able to open your doors right away. And watching the different people take their ideas, either examine their business card and hem and haw about that, gave me an idea about if they really understood the background of running a business and where their focus was. Did they want this turned around quickly so that they could open the doors and get out there and do the networking, everything that it takes? That was kind of where my mind was. And that's why I was so excited about printing, as I mentioned, because I saw instant gratification to the customer. Of course, it's all changed now, but that was the excitement back when we were in it.
Okay, so that was one of your purposes. That was something that was motivating you to move forward.
Right.
And then, but you do, as you've just mentioned, you do have to face the nuts and bolts of making it sustainable, which is the accounting. Many years ago, I was a pharmaceutical rep, and I used to talk to doctors. I cannot tell you how many physicians I spoke to that would say, I doctor. That's what I do. I'm the doctor here. I do the doctor. I have no idea what happens out there. I hire people that know how to do that because I don't, as far as keeping track of the books and, making sure everybody pays and all that stuff. So if you ask me how I'm doing, I don't know. I get a sheet at the end of the year and I get paid as I go. And so I really don't. It's like, okay, but you see now the nature of your business is going to define exactly what part you play in it.
So setting up your borders, boundaries, so that you get clear, you don't have to be everything.
Yeah, my job was to talk to the doctor about what he was going to prescribe to his clientele. As far as what happened out there are other guys that would come in and talk to the office manager and stuff like that. The doctor wouldn't even know about it. And that was okay with him or her. They were fine not to know about it. And the people out front didn't want to know anything about what I was talking to that person. So this was like a division of labor. So when you think in terms of what business do I want to be in, you also think as part of that is what are the structural necessities for making that happen and sustainable over a period of time. Now, am I going to be, like you said, you don't have to be everything. Well, if you're a one-man thing, I mean, if you're a one-person business, then you are everything. But the thing is, if you're going to do certain kinds of work, it's like, do I really want to be my own sales rep? Well, the answer might be yes, but the answer might be no. The nature of the business is such that it's kind of smarmy, a little bit icky if I am the sales rep and the service provider. It'd be kind of weird for a doctor to get on the line and say, hey, I saw you walking down the street with a limp this morning and asked me your neighbors, your name and phone number. I thought maybe you might come in, we can, fix it up. It was like, wow, I don't know. But you don't mind hearing about somebody on the radio, talking about this practice or whatever. So there are things that you might want to divvy up as far as a division of labor goes. So, that's part of it too. Are you going to be a one-man show? Are you going to be, a 5-person entity? Or you're going to be a 100-person entity? Are you making things that requires a lot of equipment? You're talking about restaurant. I know a lot of cooks. I was in the restaurant business for 7 years. I know, and I thought about opening.
Right, I forgot. Yeah.
And I thought about opening one. But you see, here's the thing. A lot of cooks want to be restaurateur, but they don't realize what it takes beyond the kitchen to keep a restaurant going. There's an awful lot of moving parts in a restaurant, and it is an ongoing, never-ending confluence. If you can think of like 6 rivers all coming into one spot and then turning into some kind of huge, this is the thing. And so you look at this and you need to be careful about understanding what your purpose is and what kind of line of work is going to allow you to be able to tap into those things that are driving you to begin with. Otherwise, what'll happen is 6 months in, you'll go, I hate this. But you can't sell it. Most people think you can sell a business, and in most cases, it depends. If you've got a huge manufacturing plant with a lot of hard assets and an ongoing group of tens of thousands of customers out there, you could sell that. But if you're in a service business or a small business that's basically taking what other people make and then selling it, you don't really have anything to sell. So at this point, it's like it's me or nothing, and so you have to really be concerned about the underpinnings of it and your understanding of what it is it's going to take. It can be daunting.
So that gets back to the why.
In your experience, what do people tell you is their reason for it?
Well, mostly it's been that people want to help other people. They also see that it's something that they enjoy. And sometimes people actually look at their background. Oh, well, I've been doing IT for years. Just as you said, I've done it for a company, and there's no reason why I can't branch out and do it myself, because that way I'm in control of my time. I can build my own business. I have my freedom, that sort of stuff.
Which is different from what my experience has been.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You see, if you have somebody that grew up in an entrepreneurial household, that is to say, either their parents owned businesses or were professional people that owned a practice of some sort, which is a business. And so you get to the point where it's a matter of what. It's not a question of if anymore. I mean, that's just, you're raised to think this way. However, most of the time, those people are not asking me for help. Most of the time, what I'm hearing from is somebody that was an employee over a period of time, and now they're striking out and they want to be a business owner. So for me, what I hear very often is, I'm sick to death of where I work. I'm sick to death of the people I have to work with.
Right, because they're in the corporate world. You're right. Yeah.
Well, sometimes it is, and sometimes it's a family-run business. It's like, I'm constantly running up against the brother-in-law. I'm constantly running up against this and this and this. This person is making all the decisions, and it's just like King Tut, and I got to do everything that person says, and that's just all there is to it. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being told where to go, what to do, how much I can make, putting up with people that I don't want to put up with and stuff like that. And so what they want to do is they want to somehow extricate themselves from that clutch.
You are so right. As you say that, I can actually think of people in every one of those situations where things like that have happened.
I was actually in my psychology office. I had a physician. He looked at me and he said, "I really admire you." And I'm about 40 years old or something like that. And this guy is not much older than I am. He's probably 42, 43, something like that. He says, I admire you. And all I went through what went through my head was, you're making like 10 times more money than I am. So I'm really curious as to what is it exactly that you admire? And I said, why is that? And he said, because you're your own person. He said, you come and go and choose who you're going to deal with and who you don't deal with. And I can't do that. If a person walks through my doors, that's it. I deal with it. And if I don't like them, it doesn't matter. I have to look like I like them and take care of them anyway. And I can't really take time off. I can't really do X. I really can't do Y. I've got 2 houses. I got 3 cars. I've got all kinds of this, and I can't enjoy any of it because I'm working 75 hours a week, and I can't not. And I didn't really think too much about that. But he said, but I would love, because what he was trapped by the clutch of his own entity.
That's a good point. What happens to some people, I've actually seen it where they think they're making a lot of money, but their expenses are higher than their income. And so it looks as though they're doing well, but when you get behind closed doors, you find out that they've taken on way too much, maybe a bigger house.
Also, I've talked to people that have climbed the corporate ladder, people that were making a lot of money. And by a lot of money, I'm not talking about, $200,000 a year. I'm talking about, $80,000, $90,000 a year, which is good money. But, it's like, and it's good money. There's nothing wrong with that kind of money. And they looked at me, and there was this other guy. He was a vice president of something or other. He was making about 110. And he looked at me and he said, I really wish that I could do what you do. And he did, as a sideline kind of thing. He did professional speaking too. He stole some of my stuff once and told me he did, but he butchered it up so much. I said, don't credit me with that. That's no, okay.
You can have it all. I don't want any credit. Thank you.
Thank you. But at one point he said, but I can't do what you do. I said, why? He said, because these people, they pay me well and I have all these benefits and blah, blah, blah. And he called it the golden handcuffs. And he said, and that's what they are. I'm like a prisoner because I cannot really think of myself as striking out and taking the risk of not being able to have, when I'm done, what I have right now. And so if a person like that makes a decision someday, but this isn't where my heart is and I want to get out there, then all these things that we've been talking about become very, very pivotal to that. The understanding that just because you want out doesn't necessarily mean that jumping out of the frying pan isn't necessarily a good idea.
Right.
Taking a look at some of the things that we talked about, the purpose for why you want to do this and why you choose to do whatever it is you wind up doing, the nature of the business, understanding, again, like we talked about, the idea of all those things that make a business actually work. And are you the one person that's going to do it all? Are you going to have a division of labor? How are you going to support 3 people or 10 people or however many there will be? And then we haven't even started talking about, and this is for a different time, but where's the money coming from? Because you have to capitalize these things in some way. You're going to be out there and it's going to take you a while to get up and running and you're going to have to live on something. So all these questions, and then the mission statement.
Oh,
I only touched on that. Now I'll just do, as we get towards the end here, I would say the mission statement, if a person wants a thing that looks good on a plaque in the lobby, that's not really a mission statement. It might sound good. A guy that owned a radio station had something going on, and he asked to talk to me. And so I said, okay. And he said, what do you think you can do for us? And I went, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, He said, let me show you something. I'm going to show you my mission statement. So I said, okay. And so he walks me out of his office and he brings me to the lobby, and there's this, it looked like it was bought at Walmart, one of these old little frames with the glass on it. And there's a piece of paper inside it. It looks like a strip, like something from a large version of a fortune cookie kind of thing. And it said, our mission is to make money. That was it. And he said, so any proposals you have, it has to end with, and this is how it's going to make me money. If you can't do that, we ain't got nothing to talk about. So it's like, okay, all right. But you see, he was very unabashed about it. Now he owns a huge number of radio stations. But you see, the thing about a mission statement works to clarify exactly what it is everybody is doing, so that it all converges to a single outcome. So if a person says, oh, we want to have the happiest customers in the world, that doesn't really mean, that's kind of like blah, blah, blah. That's a platitude. And to say, so part of our mission is to make our customers happy. So when they come in, we will meet them and greet them and talk to them. We will ask them what it is they want to have as an outcome for talking to us today. We will ask them how they know, and we'll measure whether or not we've accomplished why they came to us and what makes us special. You go through this and say, my gosh, you can't put that on a plaque. No, you know what? That's going to be like a little booklet.
all of that is actually put together in a business plan, I believe, that these are different steps that you have to take. Why am I doing this? And the purpose and the mission statement. I think that's why people are successful with these who do business plans, because it forces them to actually write things down. And I keep hearing that the more you write it down, the clearer you get on where you're going, what your purpose is, and why you want to do it.
So to sum up what you just said and what we've been talking, the number one thing is, if you're going to make the entrepreneurial leap, what you want to do of all the things you could do, the number one thing is to clearly understand what exactly that entails, why you're doing it, and then finding a reason to commit to it. Would you agree?
Excellent. Yes, I do. Thank you, Phil. You're really good at summing it up. I like that.
Well, if you want any more summations of that nature, it's phildagostino.net. Go there and drop me a line, and I'd be happy to talk about it to anybody that's listening.